Hey everybody, I'm down here in the basement in my gear room, and I've got a massive mess here because I just completed a long-time goal of mine, which was to summit and ski off of Rainier. I did this in the sort of fast and light style, no camping. So that just means getting up really early, doing it in a single push all the way to the summit and then skiing all the way back down. It was really incredible, huge learning experience for, how to act and move in really, really big mountains. I just wanted to go through some of the gear as I put all of this away, some of the pieces that I really enjoyed, that I really liked, that I found were very helpful to do an ascent in this style. The first thing to put away is skis. I am definitely, I know I said fast and light, I am not in the full light category. So I've been riding these Black Crowes Camox skis, 96 underfoot, 181 in length. I'm 6'3", so that's a slightly short ski for me. I like a slightly shorter ski, but I still like the sort of all-rounder capabilities of a ski this wide and this long. Allows me to ski in the way that I enjoy without having to sacrifice the down and being just light enough that I can still make it up on days like these. I also have an adjustable pole. The type of pole that you have doesn't really matter, but I do like being able to lengthen my poles for the uphill and then shortening them a little bit for the downhill, just so that I can get a lot of traction when we're going up and still have like my preferred length while skiing down. All right, and the next thing up is sort of hard tools. So on the outside of my pack, I carry an ice axe. You need an ice axe when you're going into glacier terrain for self-arresting, but it's also just a very useful tool for a ski mountaineer in general to be able to climb when you're ever on a steep slope, being able to push this in. We didn't do any actual like ice climbing or anything, but my partner Evan put me on all the blue ice stuff. So he also put me on the blue ice crampons, which were a new tool for this ascent. We're doing like a 10-point gravel crampon for a long time, just because I haven't done anything very steep. But I switched to a 12-point blue ice crampon. I really liked them, super light. It's so much smaller in my pack. Really, really handy when you want to keep your pack size small and you want to keep your base weight light. And then next, we've got all of the glacier gear that we brought. So Mount Rainier is obviously extraordinarily glaciated. It has huge crevasses. We had to cross quite a few of them. You're surrounded just by ice all of the time, so you need a full kit. This isn't the full kit. We used a radline setup. System that we practice uses two 30-meter rad lines. When we're skiing, everybody should have a rope. So no matter if while you're going downhill unroped, the person who went down knows that their partner is going to have a rope to be able to do a rescue with. So that's why we do a slightly shorter rope, but we all carry a rope when we're going down. And then I use just a super ultralight ski mountaineering harness. So this is not something you want to go climbing in, not very comfortable for long periods of time, but it's light enough you don't really feel it. It can be strapped around without taking off your ski boots, which is super nice. Then we've just got a mix of hard goods here. We've got a ton of locking carabiners, micro tracks, T-block, a couple of third hands so we can make prussics, and then some cordelette for the system that we prefer to use. We spent a lot of time practicing it. When you're going into glaciated terrain, you should know how to do a rescue really, really well. It should be down pat. You should be really familiar with the stuff that you're bringing. Practice it. We practiced this probably half a dozen times on the couple days leading up beforehand, just to make sure that we were super dialed, that we knew all the gear that we had and we knew how to use it, and that we were bringing everything that we needed. We're not bringing too much because everything we're using in practice, but we're bringing enough that we have all the situations covered. All right, next thing out of the bag is layers. I always bring some sort of hard glove, something that's going to be very warm, as well as a liner glove. So these are just some thin wool liners, so that when I'm moving, a lot of times I won't even have gloves on. Here in the spring in the Pacific Northwest, it gets really warm. But for those early mornings or just times when there's a little bit of wind, you want a liner. And then when you're up at the top and you're freezing cold, you want a really thick glove. Or if you have to do any like serious climbing where you're putting your hands in the snow and really steeps, you really want a more waterproof and warm glove. Also on the layers front, I had a puffy jacket that's just not here. It doesn't go down with my gear, but I also bring a 3-layer shell. This is kind of a heavy layer. You could bring a lighter shell. To me, this is a piece of safety gear. If the weather changes, if something happens and you have to sit there, you don't want to be getting wet if you're having to sit in the snow. And it's just like the most windproof layer. There's a ton of wind that can happen up on top of big summits, and this will keep you warm and this will keep you dry. Next up, and this is where ski mountaineering differs from regular mountaineering besides the actual skis, is we always wear avalanche beacons. We have our full avalanche setup. A lot of mountaineers will bring avalanche safety gear as well, but as skiers, we know we're going to be going into the steep terrain where the snow can move. There was actually an avalanche on Rainier on the line that we were skiing earlier in the day. We were just a little bit later than it happened, and somebody had to be rescued. Just because it's not midwinter, there's not a ton of snow, and there's a lot of wet activity when the temps get up this high, and that can still be really dangerous. So you really have to watch where you're skiing, and you always want to have your gear. Beacon, shovel, probe, always in the bag. On the outside of my pack, we've got a helmet. This is just a super light rock climbing helmet, technically, theoretically also rated for ski mountaineering. Wouldn't wear this if I was gonna do a lot of skiing around trees, but when the main hazards are falling and hitting your head on the ground or in a crevasse, or getting hit by overhead hazards like rocks, we have pretty much the same fall hazards as a rock climber would, and these super light helmets are way better on a super long day than something big. That's also probably gonna have a lot of warmth in it that you don't want. You want to be able to release heat out of the top of your head. Yeah, love these helmets. A couple miscellaneous pieces that are always at the bottom of my bag. A small first aid kit, just some medications, scrapes and bruises. This is definitely not enough if you need to really help someone who's injured. So somebody should always have some sort of medical kit like that. Things like tourniquet can be really helpful as long as you know how to use them. And I also carry a splint. Broken bones, wrists, ankles can be a pretty common injury. And this paired with some athletic tape can really help in the short term for getting somebody maybe moving or keeping themselves from injuring themselves further. And then I always carry a wag bag. Don't poop in the wilderness and just leave it there. Always pack it out. We don't want our big mountains covered in poop. You'll probably notice in all my pictures, I have a very white face because I'm always wearing zinc. I do like a base coat of liquid sunscreen in the morning that I find helps a lot, but then throughout the day I'm reapplying. I've also used the sticks. The cream works really well though. It actually feels more like rub on. You have to take your gloves off and do it. Just sort of a downside, but it definitely protects better when the sun is as strong as it is up on taller mountains. And then this one isn't on the bottom of my bag, but on the outside of my bag is a Garmin InReach GPS messaging. I was tracking all day for my family and loved ones so that they can follow along. Also lets me send text messages when I don't have service anymore. Good to have. Now, one of the most common questions I get from people looking at photos or watching videos of me doing something like this is, how do you go uphill on your skis? So these are skins. This little, it's a yellow fabric on these, and it's basically like hair. So it goes in one direction like the hair on like a short-haired dog. And so when the snow or the friction tries to push you backwards, all the little hairs catch. And then on the other side, there's glue. Sticks to the bottom of your skis, keeps snow from getting in between them so you have perfect adhesion. These are open right now. I always let them dry, especially after the hot spring days. Your skins get super duper soaked and they start to lose their effectiveness by the end of the day. Sometimes my skis or my skins won't stick anymore. I just stick them back together. I use something called a skin saver when they're in storage for a long time. Try to keep them nice and cool so the glue actually lasts. All right. And I think that is everything. It's probably not everything that was actually in my bag. You know, I had things like water and food and lots of it that took up a lot of the big space, but it's some of the important pieces that I really love and can talk about and that are specific to this sport. It's very cool going out and seeing all of the different things that people do have, the different size packs, the different crevasse rescue kits, you know, the little things that they have on their kit or that they're lacking. They're really good conversation pieces. It's really awesome to learn on the mountain, to learn actively from everybody in the community. I know I'm still learning a ton. I am not a source of truth on this information. This is just what I do. This is what I've found works so far for me. It's constantly changing. So let me know the pieces that you have that I don't carry, or let me know the pieces that you think that I have that are like a little bit frivolous and I could probably drop weight for my pack. I'm always looking to drop weight as long as I can do it in a safe way. So I hope this was at least a little bit educational or at most informative about me as a person. It's pretty chunky. Yeah. No sending it today.